The soap opera in Miami is over. He's in Golden State, and it was all about money. Jimmy Butler didn't want to play because he didn't have a contract. He got his money. He was looking for it. He got it. He got an extension with the Golden State Warriors, a 2-year, $121 million extension. And he's going to be in the Bay Area, playing with Steph, playing with Draymond. Maybe he contends, maybe he doesn't. But the number one thing he wanted was to get paid and get out of that situation in Miami. And look, at the end of the day, it didn't work out. Before the season started, when Pat Riley was asked about an extension with Jimmy Butler, he said that, hey, we're not going to pay guys that aren't available every night. And the second I saw that from Pat Riley, I said, shots fired. Shots fired. And Jimmy Butler is not going to play 100% every single night without a contract. So Jimmy has to be a winner. Do I think the Warriors are a team that's a winner? I actually do. I actually do think they're a winner all of this just because their future was bleak, right? I mean, their championship window was very, very close to being slammed shut. This pries it open like a tiny, tiny bit. Could get a finger through there at this point. I mean, they were a team that had a 0.1 chance to win the NBA Finals before this trade. And you put Jimmy Butler alongside Steph Curry, alongside Draymond Green, and he gives you secondary scoring, gives you ball handling, and that's what the Warriors lack right now. And it's tough to compare any offense to what the Warriors do, egalitarian, a lot of movement. But the Miami Heat, if you had to pick a second one that kind of mirrored what they do in Golden State, the Heat have an offense that, if you kind of squint, you might see a little Golden State Warriors in that. And Golden State, they are 25th in the NBA in points in the paint. Can Jimmy still do that? Yes. Can Jimmy Butler still get to the rim? Yes. Can Jimmy Butler still get to the line? Yes. The Warriors, 28th in the association at free throw rate. So a lot of the things that the Warriors have lacked, for as up and down as Jimmy Butler's season has gone, he still checks those boxes off for them. And I think the combination with Draymond too, defensively, really unlocks some schemes for them. A lot of movement, a lot of switching, and I think that the way that Steve Kerr is going to deploy them is going to be an asset on defense as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Warriors kind of won. I mean, I wouldn't give them an A, especially because they got their plan B in Jimmy Butler because they originally wanted Kevin Durant, and Steph talked to KD. Clearly, KD didn't want to be moved. There's been reports that he was blindsided by that, but I think this is a good move for the Warriors. Happy for Jimmy Butler. Gets out of Miami. Do I think the Warriors are going to contend? I do not, but at least they're a little interesting. What say you, J-Rob?
It's not a championship move in the standpoint of, like, I can't see them hoisting the trophy this year. Think they probably need one more piece. Good for Jimmy Butler getting the money he was looking for, got extended immediately, getting a clearly above $60 million a season. So good for him. My biggest worry, though, is I was hoping that the Warriors would also get another scorer off the bench. I was hoping like a name like a Cam Thomas would have been real interesting to go there, because I think the one thing about that system that you talked about is it's very Curry-centric. And I think for the other players within that system, they kind of get lost within it. And you need kind of like a scorer's mentality to find your shot within that Steve Kerr Warriors system. A lot with Jordan Poole being able to flourish within it. I would have loved Cam Thomas to be shipped to the Warriors along with Jimmy Butler, because I feel like the move would have been a bit better. I don't know if I would have said a contender with Cam Thomas, but I would have liked the flow of the offense. I think you would have got a lot more scoring. But I do think Jimmy Butler does fit for what they needed.
Yeah, and I think, too, he's not going to disrupt the culture. They wouldn't let that happen. I mean, Draymond would probably punch him. I mean, that'd be a good fight.
They both fight each other.
They both fight. That'd be a good fight. I would like to see that in the octagon. I kind of got Jimmy, though, some weird reason. Jimmy looks like he's the real deal, man. But
they come from the same cloth. It might work out, honestly.
Yeah, Midwest dudes, Michigan State versus Marquette. Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as the compensation go, interesting thing is the protected first-round pick that the Warriors gave up, it isn't nothing. I want to point that out. If the draft were tomorrow, that protected first-round pick that the Warriors gave up would be interesting. It'd be in the lottery at pick number 14. But with Jimmy Butler, you have to assume that the Warriors are going to be a better team, win more games. So it's not like they're worse now. They're actually better. So that pick is probably going to drop to the middle of the first round, possibly in the low 20s if things go right. So there's that. Now, whether it be Jimmy Butler or someone else, they were going to have to find a way to add a piece that at least gives them some hope. He's that guy. Now, as far as Andrew Wiggins, Wiggins is, I think, a little bit of a loss for the Warriors, but I mean, Schroeder was bad for the Warriors. Is kind of an isolation scorer, not great in their offense. He just doesn't fit into Golden State's motion offense, that scheme they run. But yeah, I think that the other thing too, last point on the Warriors is, had you have gotten Kevin Durant, you would have to give up a small fortune. It would have cost a lot more. I also would have made them more intriguing, though. I mean, I think that kind of get the band back together and you try to go after it one more time. But KD, he said nope. He refused to reunite with Curry and Draymond Green. So they got the best option that was available to them. He can improve their perimeter defense, can knock down some threes, he can provide some shot creation. Warriors need all that, and he brings that. But I will say, if he complains about the Warriors, I'm done with Jimmy Butler. He'll lose all credibility. He's lost most credibility as far as how he handled the Heat situation. But if everywhere you go stinks, you're the one that stinks, my man. And we'll see. I think he's got a lot to prove, too. Now, as far as the loser goes, I kind of have to go with the Heat. And I'll tell you why. It's not because of the Jimmy Butler trade. It's because of how closely they were linked to Kevin Durant. I mean, for a couple hours there, we were pretty excited about the possibility of Kevin Durant going to the Miami Heat. That's a team that certainly could benefit. KD kind of feels like a Heat player, especially late in his career. And then other thing, too, the Heat, if you look at their pick situation, they owe their first-round pick in 2025 to the Thunder, their 2027 first-round pick to the Hornets. Those are lottery protected, but if the Heat miss the playoffs, those picks will go up a year and they'll become unprotected. So the last thing that the Heat want to do is to have two unprotected picks and you're not winning games as you're trying to rebuild after Jimmy Butler's gone. So I think the pro is you get out from underneath Jimmy Butler and a potential extension that you ultimately were never going to sign with him. But the con is possibly, hey, if things don't go your way based on those unprotected picks and those first-round pick situations, you will lose some of those assets.
I definitely agree with that part of it. I will say, I think sometimes you win when you lose the headache. You know, when you're getting rid of a problem for an organization, I think that in itself is enough to say we won because this problem isn't here, or maybe the fact that we saved some money not having to pay Jimmy Butler. I think your thought on this is pretty interesting, but ultimately, I mean, what do we really feel like the Miami Heat are actually going to be up to with where they're constructed? They still they don't have a superstar, in my opinion. I love Bam, love Tyler Hero, even love Andrew Wiggins, but they don't have a superstar. So, I mean, ultimately, for me, the Miami Heat, if I were to really give them a grade or a winner or a loser, it'd be undecided. I feel like there's still more to see, in my opinion.
I agree. I think the biggest thing, though, for the Heat, they don't have a superstar, but they realize that. And they understand that you can't get a superstar unless you are in a position to pay a guy or put together draft assets to get a guy, and they didn't take back any salary that goes past the summer of 2026. So the Heat are in a really good spot moving forward, and they always find a way to get guys. I think they're a interesting destination that would have made sense for Luka Doncic had he not been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. But yeah, you're right. I mean, from that standpoint, that was a toxic situation. It was an untenable situation, and he's in Golden State. I would love to see Golden State versus the Miami Heat and to see how that thing plays out. But look, Jimmy Butler is a guy who's always played with a chip on his shoulder. The Warriors are hopefully going to get the best version of him, especially now that he's paid. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Jimmy Butler start to average over 20 points per game, start to be more engaged. You're going to see that happy version of him. He's going to be hanging out with all those tech dudes in the Bay, trying to probably sell some Big Face coffee, try to get some things popping from that end. So, look, the Warriors, they're not going to win the championship. I could see them winning a round at the least, though. Now,